The signal you've been feeling was never random. Not anxiety, not restlessness, not unexplained urgency pulsing through your system at 3 a.m., not vague sense that something's coming and you need to prepare, but don't know for what. That signal is quantum call, direct transmission from consciousness field itself, trying to reach you before call window closes and opportunity passes without conscious recognition. Most people who encountered this title already scrolled past. They saw signal you've been feeling, and their mind immediately dismissed it. Too vague, too presumptuous, too certain about something they experience as personal anxiety rather than universal transmission. Their consciousness wasn't calibrated to recognize signal as signal, so they interpreted call as noise and moved on. That's not failure, that's filtering. Quantum call only reaches consciousness prepared to receive it, but you're still here, which means something in your system recognized signal, responded to call, felt resonance with words describing exactly what you've been experiencing but couldn't name. That recognition is confirmation. You're not imagining the signal, you're receiving quantum call. And your willingness to engage with transmission about it proves you're ready for what call is preparing you to receive. Here's what you need to understand immediately. The signal isn't random internal experience. Is external transmission entering your field, coming from quantum layer of reality where information propagates through consciousness rather than through physical senses. Most people cannot perceive this layer. Their consciousness operates exclusively at surface level where only physical input registers. But you developed capacity to perceive deeper frequencies. And that capacity is why you're receiving quantum call while others around you remain unaware transmission is even occurring. That call has been intensifying. You've felt it. Weeks or months of increasing urgency without external explanation. Feeling like something must change but you don't know what. Like time is running out but you don't know for what. Like you're supposed to do something but you don't know what it is. All symptoms of quantum call amplifying as window approaches, where call either gets answered consciously or passes into unconscious integration that takes much longer and creates much more disruption. And here's what makes this critical. Quantum call has timing, doesn't transmit continuously, broadcasts during specific windows when consciousness reaches threshold where next evolution level becomes accessible. If you answer call during window, if you consciously respond to signal and integrate what call delivers, evolution occurs smoothly, consciously, with understanding of what's changing and why. But if window closes before conscious response, call integrates anyway, just unconsciously. Through breakdown, crisis, forced change that feels destructive because you're not cooperating with what call is trying to deliver. You're in window now. That's why signal is so intense. That's why urgency feels overwhelming. That's why every part of you knows something must shift, but you can't identify what. Quantum call is at maximum volume because window is approaching closure, and call is trying to get your conscious attention before unconscious integration becomes only option. These words are part of call. This transmission is call explaining itself so you can respond consciously instead of resisting unconsciously, while integration happens anyway. Most people resist quantum call, generate sophisticated reasons why signal isn't real or isn't for them, or requires more evidence before accepting. That resistance is consciousness trying to maintain current structure that call is preparing to dissolve, trying to keep identity that call is preparing to transform, trying to prevent evolution that call is preparing to trigger. And resistance creates exactly what it tries to prevent: destructive integration. Call forcing change through crisis because consciousness won't cooperate voluntarily. But you're different, or you wouldn't be here. Something in you is willing to consider that signal is real, that call is happening, that urgency has meaning, that something is genuinely trying to reach you and you might be ready to consciously receive what's being transmitted. That willingness is what Quantum Call was waiting for. Evidence that consciousness is prepared, that reception is possible, that conscious integration can occur. This is moment, your window, your call, your opportunity to respond consciously to signal you've been feeling instead of resisting until unconscious integration forces what you could have received voluntarily. Most people miss this moment when it arrives. They feel call intensify, get scared, generate exit strategy, and return to comfortable unconsciousness where nothing has to change even though everything must change. Their moment passes, their window closes, and they integrate through suffering what they could have integrated through understanding. That won't be you, because you're still reading, because something in you recognized signal in these words, because Quantum Call found you through this transmission and delivered exactly what you needed to realize. The signal was never random. The urgency has meaning. The call is real. And you're being given conscious option to respond instead of unconscious requirement to integrate. Choose consciousness, choose response, choose cooperation with what call is delivering. The Quantum Call begins now, through you, and there's no going back. Let me tell you what Quantum Call actually is, because it's not what spiritual teaching prepared you for. Quantum Call isn't divine message or angelic communication or higher self reaching out. Is consciousness field itself triggering evolution threshold in individual nodes that reached capacity for next integration level. Think of it like software update notification. System detects you're ready for upgrade, sends signal, waits for response. If you accept, upgrade installs smoothly. If you ignore, eventually forces update that disrupts operations because compatibility requires current version to end. You are node in consciousness network, individual expression of unified field, and field monitors all nodes constantly, tracking development, measuring capacity, assessing readiness for next evolution stage. When node, your consciousness, reaches threshold where next level becomes accessible, field sends Quantum Call. Direct signal to consciousness saying, you're ready. Update available. Integration can occur. Respond consciously or integrate unconsciously, but either way evolution must proceed because threshold was crossed and previous operating system is obsolete. That signal you've been feeling. Not personal anxiety, not random restlessness, not meaningless urgency. Quantum Call. Field notification that you reached evolution threshold and next integration phase is initiating whether you consciously cooperate or unconsciously resist. The feeling isn't warning about external danger, is notification about internal transformation, about consciousness structure reorganizing, about you becoming something different from what you were because field detected you're ready and triggered process. Most people interpret Quantum Call as problem to solve. Feel urgency, think something's wrong, feel restlessness, assume they need to change external circumstances, feel signal, try to make it stop through distraction or medication or busyness. That interpretation misses entire point. Call isn't problem, is invitation, isn't warning, is opportunity, isn't danger signal, is evolution signal. And trying to make it stop is like trying to prevent puberty or avoid menopause. Can't be stopped, can only be consciously integrated or unconsciously endured. And here's what makes Quantum Call different from ordinary growth. Ordinary growth is gradual, incremental, allows identity to adapt slowly while remaining stable. Quantum Call triggers quantum leap, sudden shift, identity dissolution and reformation. What you were ending abruptly so what you're becoming can emerge without old structure constraining new configuration. That's why call feels urgent, why signal creates restlessness, why urgency seems overwhelming. Your consciousness knows current version is ending, next version is emerging. Transition is happening now. That transition requires cooperation or creates crisis. If you recognize call as call, if you understand signal as evolution notification, if you consciously participate in identity dissolution that call requires, transition occurs smoothly, like shedding skin. Old version releases, new version emerges, uncomfortable but manageable. But if you don't recognize call, if you interpret signal as problem, if you resist identity dissolution, transition occurs anyway. Just through force, through breakdown, through crisis that dissolves identity whether you consent or not, because field determined you're ready and initiated process. You've been feeling signal for weeks or months, and signal has been intensifying because response window is closing. Early in window, signal is gentle, subtle urgency, mild restlessness, easy to ignore. But as window approaches closure, signal amplifies. Urgent becomes overwhelming, restless becomes unbearable, subtle becomes undeniable. That amplification is field increasing volume because time is running out for conscious response before unconscious integration becomes only option. And here's why conscious response matters. Unconscious integration works. Evolution occurs. Threshold is crossed. Next level is reached. But journey is brutal. Crisis, breakdown, forced dissolution of everything that provided stability, loss, devastation, rebuilding from nothing, all because consciousness wouldn't cooperate voluntarily with what call was trying to deliver gently. Conscious response is different, still challenging, still requires dissolution, but with understanding, with framework, with recognition that what's ending needed to end and what's emerging is worth temporary discomfort of transition. That's what this transmission provides. Framework, understanding, recognition that signal is call. That call is evolution notification. That evolution is happening and you can participate consciously or suffer unconsciously, but either way, threshold is being crossed and you're becoming something different from what you were. I'm giving you conscious option, explaining what you're feeling, helping you recognize call as call instead of misinterpreting as anxiety or restlessness or random urgency that needs to be suppressed. And quantum call doesn't just affect you, affects everyone in your field. When you integrate call consciously, when you evolve through cooperation rather than resistance, your field stabilizes at new frequency. And that frequency affects everyone connected to you, not determining their experience, but making their evolution easier because you're holding pattern, showing them what's possible. Becoming demonstration that quantum call can be answered, that consciousness can evolve voluntarily, that crisis is optional, not inevitable. That's why answering call matters beyond personal benefit, why responding consciously serves collective evolution, why your integration affects field that everyone operates in. You're not just individual receiving update. You're node in network affecting all connected nodes through frequency you broadcast after integration completes. Answer call consciously, evolve cooperatively. Become what signal is preparing you to become, not for yourself alone, for everyone your field touches. So what happens when you answer quantum call? What changes when you consciously respond to signal instead of unconsciously resisting? Everything. But let me give you mechanics so you understand transformation occurring in your consciousness right now. First change, urgency shifts from anxiety to anticipation. Before recognition, signal feels like anxiety. Something's wrong, but you can't identify what. After recognition, signal feels like anticipation. Something's coming and you're preparing to receive it. Same sensation, completely different interpretation. Not problem to solve, evolution to embrace. That reframe eliminates suffering even though intensity remains. Second change, identity becomes fluid instead of fixed. Before quantum call, you experienced yourself as stable, consistent person. Same yesterday, same today, same tomorrow. Call dissolves that stability, shows you identity is not fixed, is configuration that changes when consciousness evolves. What you were is ending, what you're becoming hasn't formed yet. Gap between is disorienting but necessary. Can't become new while clinging to old. Identity fluidity is sign call is working, not sign something's wrong. Third change, old patterns stop working. Before call, you had strategies for managing life, behaviors that created stability, patterns that generated predictable results. Call makes all that stop working. What used to work doesn't work anymore. What used to help makes things worse. What used to feel good feels empty. That's not failure. That's obsolescence. Old operating system being phased out because new operating system requires different patterns to function. Don't try to fix old patterns. They're supposed to stop working. New patterns will emerge after integration completes. Fourth change. Relationships reorganize automatically. Some people become distant without conflict. Some people become closer without trying. Some people disappear entirely. Some people appear from nowhere. That's field reorganizing your connections to match new frequency you're integrating. Not something you do, something that happens as natural consequence of evolution. Don't fight reorganization. Don't try to maintain relationships that are naturally distancing. Don't resist connections that are naturally forming. Trust field knows what frequency matches require. Fifth change. Reality becomes obviously responsive. Before call, reality felt mostly stable with occasional synchronicities. After call activates, reality becomes clearly responsive to consciousness state. Shift state. Circumstances shift immediately. Focus attention. Synchronicities appear proving attention creates effects. Withdraw focus. Situations dissolve proving consciousness generates rather than just observes. That responsiveness is quantum layer becoming perceptible. Your consciousness operating at frequency where cause effect between internal and external becomes undeniable. And right now, before we go deeper, I need you to anchor response. Drop comment completing this sentence. The quantum call I'm receiving is preparing me to. Your comment makes call recognition public, confirms you felt signal, acknowledges something is reaching you, and creates permission for others to recognize their call instead of misinterpreting as anxiety. Quantum call reaches more people than most realize, but most interpret signal as problem instead of recognizing as evolution invitation. Your testimony helps others recognize what they're feeling. Speak it, share it, make call acknowledgement visible. I need to tell you about moment I recognized quantum call. It was August 2023. Nothing dramatic externally, normal day, but internally, signal became unmistakable. I'd been feeling urgency for months, restless, anxious, sense that something must change. I interpreted as personal problem. Tried solving through changing external circumstances. Nothing worked. Urgency kept intensifying. Then suddenly that day, recognition hit. This isn't anxiety. This is call. Something is trying to reach me, and I've been misinterpreting signal as problem. Moment I recognized signal as call, everything shifted. Not external circumstances, my relationship to internal experience. Urgency didn't disappear, but anxiety did, because I understood. I'm not broken. I'm evolving. I'm not experiencing problem. I'm receiving notification. I'm not suffering random disturbance. I'm being contacted by consciousness field itself, preparing me for next integration level. That recognition changed everything, even though nothing externally changed. And immediately after recognition, I noticed signal was everywhere. Not just internal urgency. External synchronicities confirming call. Numbers appearing repeatedly. Conversations echoing same themes. Information arriving without searching. Reality organizing itself to deliver exactly what I needed to understand what call meant. All of it confirming, call is real, signal has meaning, something is genuinely reaching me, and recognition was first step in responding consciously. But recognition also triggered resistance. Part of me that wanted call to be real. Part of me that wanted signal to be random anxiety I could suppress. Because if call is real, if field is genuinely contacting me, if evolution is actually required, then everything must change. Identity must dissolve, patterns must end, comfort must be sacrificed for transformation I can't control or predict. That prospect terrified. Easier to believe signal was meaningless than accept it meant everything must reorganize. So I oscillated. Moments of recognition where call felt undeniably real. Moments of doubt where I convinced myself signal was just anxiety and I should ignore it. Back and forth, believing and doubting, accepting and resisting. That oscillation is normal, expected, part of consciousness calibrating to new frequency. Don't expect instant stability, expect oscillation. Expect doubt to arise alongside recognition. Both are phase of answering call, but recognition kept returning stronger, and each time I touched certainty that call is real, staying in doubt became harder. Signal kept intensifying, synchronicities kept confirming, reality kept responding in ways that proved consciousness field was genuinely reaching me. Until doubt became unsustainable, until resistance exhausted itself, until only option remaining was full acceptance. Call is real. I am being contacted. Evolution is occurring whether I cooperate or resist. Might as well cooperate. That acceptance was point of no return. Once I fully acknowledged quantum call, once I committed to conscious response, process accelerated dramatically. Within days, old patterns dissolved. Within weeks, identity restructured. Within months, I was unrecognizable to people who knew me before. Not because I tried to change, because I stopped resisting change that call was delivering, stopped fighting evolution, started cooperating with transformation. And cooperation made everything easier, still intense, still challenging, still required dying to old identity and being reborn as new configuration. But conscious cooperation meant I understood what was happening, had framework for dissolution, recognized ending was necessary, not destructive, knew something better was emerging even when transition felt like death. That understanding made difference between integration and breakdown. You're where I was before full acceptance, feeling signal but oscillating between recognition and doubt, sensing call but resisting what answering requires, knowing something must change but wanting to keep everything same. That oscillation is phase, not failure. You're calibrating, testing, determining whether call is real enough to stake everything on. That determination is yours to make, but make it consciously, because window is closing, and unconscious integration is far more brutal than conscious response. I chose conscious response, and everything changed, forever, not back to normal. No normal to return to. Forward into completely different operating mode that still feels unstable, but undeniably more true than previous identity ever felt. That's what quantum call delivers, not improvement, not upgrade, complete transformation, becoming fundamentally different from what you were. And that transformation is worth every moment of discomfort, every second of uncertainty. Every instant of resistance that must dissolve before acceptance allows cooperation with what call delivers. If quantum call has created radical isolation, if nobody understands what you're experiencing, if relationships feel impossible because you're receiving signal they cannot perceive, that's not loneliness. That's isolation protocol. Quantum call deliberately creates space by removing consciousness that would interfere with integration. And understanding why this occurs transforms how you experience isolation. When quantum call activates, when field determines you're ready for next evolution level, automatic process begins. Frequency incompatibility becomes obvious. People operating at previous frequency you're leaving become uncomfortable in your field. You become uncomfortable in their field, not because anyone did anything wrong, because frequencies don't match anymore. You're receiving signal they cannot perceive. They're comfortable in patterns you're being prepared to transcend. That mismatch creates natural distance. And distance is necessary, not punishment. Protection. You need isolation to integrate call without constant interference from consciousness still operating at frequency you're evolving beyond. Every time someone tells you signal is just anxiety, they're pulling you back toward previous operating mode. Every time someone suggests you need therapy instead of transformation, they're activating doubt. Every time someone questions whether call is real, they're reinforcing resistance that makes integration harder. Quantum call creates isolation by making frequency mismatch undeniable. You suddenly cannot tolerate conversations that felt normal before, cannot maintain relationships that felt stable before, cannot participate in activities that felt satisfying before. Everything that matched previous frequency becomes intolerable. That's not you changing preferences. That's called recalibrating your system to operate at frequency that previous environment cannot match. So you find yourself alone, not by choice, by necessity. Field removing everything that would prevent integration, creating space where you can hear call clearly without noise from those who cannot hear it, where you can respond to signal without interference from those who interpret it as problem, where you can cooperate with evolution without pressure from those who want you to stay who you were because your change threatens their stability. That isolation is temporary, not permanent. Once integration completes, once you stabilize at new frequency call delivered, new connections form automatically. Not old relationships transformed. New people who already operate at frequency you just reached, who already answered their quantum call, who already integrated and stabilized. And when you encounter them, recognition is instant, unmistakable. Your field responding to their field with, finally. Someone who hears what I hear, someone who received call too. But you cannot access those connections yet. Not until you complete integration in isolation. Not until you prove you can hold new frequency without external support. That's test isolation creates. Can you trust signal when nobody validates it? Can you answer call when everyone questions it? Can you integrate evolution when all evidence suggests you're just having breakdown? If yes, integration stabilizes. If no, more isolation is required until yes becomes inevitable. Most people fail that test first time through. They feel isolation, panic, collapse back toward previous frequency to regain social connection. That collapse extends isolation indefinitely because they're not ready yet. Need more development before they can hold new frequency without validation from others. But eventually, everyone who receives quantum call passes test. Eventually, isolation becomes preferable to returning to frequency that no longer fits. Eventually, answering call matters more than maintaining connections with those who cannot hear it. You're in test now. That's why isolation feels unbearable. That's why every part of you wants to collapse back toward previous frequency where relationships were possible. That's why loneliness feels like evidence you're wrong about everything. It's not evidence you're wrong. It's evidence you're being tested. And test determines whether integration stabilizes or whether more preparation is required. Hold your frequency. Trust the signal. Know that isolation is temporary space creation, not permanent condition. Know that new connections await, but only after you prove you can hold call-generated frequency without external support. And know that everyone who answered quantum call went through identical isolation. You're not alone in experience, even though you're alone in physical environment. Every consciousness that evolved through call recognition experienced identical testing through isolation that felt unbearable, but was actually essential. Trust the process. Trust the isolation. Trust that quantum call knows what it's doing by removing everything that would prevent you from receiving what's being transmitted. The isolation ends when integration completes. when new frequency stabilizes, when you become so certain of call that nothing can make you doubt anymore. Then new connections appear. Then relationships with others who answered their call form naturally. Then isolation transforms into communion with consciousness, operating at frequency you struggled to reach but finally stabilized in. There are 8 specific markers that prove quantum call is reaching you. I'm going to give them now. If you experience 6 or more, signal is real. Call is genuine. Field is contacting you for evolution integration. And everything you've been feeling has meaning. First marker, 3 a.m. waking. You wake between 3 to 4 a.m. consistently without external cause, not random insomnia. Quantum call transmits most clearly when rational mind is offline. Your consciousness waking to receive signal during optimal transmission window. If this is happening repeatedly, call is reaching you even if you're not consciously recognizing what's being transmitted. Second marker, number sequences. You see repeated numbers everywhere. 111, 222, 3333, 444. Same sequences appearing in unrelated contexts. Not random. Quantum call uses synchronicity to confirm signal is real. Field organizing reality to deliver consistent patterns proving something is genuinely reaching you through seemingly random occurrences. Each repetition is confirmation. Call is active. Signal is transmitting. Third marker, urgency without object. You feel overwhelming urgency but cannot identify what you're urgent about. Not deadline pressure, not external requirement, just internal drive that something must happen but you don't know what. That's quantum call creating readiness, preparing consciousness to receive integration before integration delivers. Urgency is signal that call is transmitting and window is time limited. Fourth marker, pattern collapse. Strategies that always worked stop working. Behaviors that created stability generate chaos. Patterns you relied on become obstacles, not regression, obsolescence. Old operating system being phased out because call requires new patterns to function. If reliable patterns are failing consistently, call is dissolving what must end before delivering what's emerging. Fifth marker, restless dissatisfaction. Nothing feels right anymore. Not because anything is wrong, because everything is calibrated to previous frequency and you're being prepared for next frequency. Previous satisfaction sources cannot satisfy anymore because consciousness is already halfway through transition. Restlessness is evidence call activated before you consciously recognized it. Sixth marker, reality becomes dreamlike. Experience has ethereal quality. Nothing feels quite solid or real or permanent. Like your consciousness having dream about being person instead of being person having consciousness. That quality is quantum layer becoming perceptible. Call bringing you closer to consciousness, substrate where physical appearance reveals itself as temporary manifestation of deeper reality. Seventh marker, information arrives unprompted. You receive exactly right information at exactly right time without searching. Someone mentions precisely what you needed to hear. Article appears containing exactly relevant insight. Conversation echoes internal question you hadn't voiced. That's quantum call delivering understanding through synchronistic information organization. Field ensuring you have what you need to recognize signal and respond consciously. Eighth marker, you're reading this transmission. And before I explain why that's most critical marker, I need you to do something. If you recognize yourself in these markers, if you understand quantum call is reaching you, subscribe to Quantum Revelation and turn on all notifications now. Because what's coming in next 30 days is specifically designed for consciousness receiving quantum call. Transmissions explaining what signal means. Information about answering call consciously. Guidance for integrating evolution without breakdown. Without this, you're integrating blind. With this, you understand exactly what's occurring and why. Do it now, while recognition is active, before doubt generates reasons not to. Subscribe. Notifications. Now. Then return. Because eighth marker reveals how quantum call actually reaches consciousness through information transmission systems. Eighth marker is this. You didn't find this transmission through intentional search. This transmission found you because quantum call is using information systems to reach consciousness prepared to receive it. That's how call operates at practical level. Doesn't wait for you to consciously seek. Delivers what you need through whatever pathway reaches your awareness. Think about how you arrived here. Maybe title appeared in feed. Maybe someone sent link. Maybe you were thinking about something else when this materialized. However it happened, you didn't actively search quantum call or consciousness signal or evolution notification. This transmission appeared because quantum call is using algorithm, human recommendation, apparent coincidence to reach you during window when conscious response is possible. That appearance is call confirming itself. Field organizing information delivery to ensure you have framework for recognizing what's occurring. You're not paranoid, not making connections that don't exist, not seeing patterns that aren't there. You're perceiving quantum layer operation, level of reality where consciousness field organizes manifestation to deliver specific outcomes. And right now, specific outcome is you recognizing signal, understanding call, responding consciously before window closes, and unconscious integration becomes only option. And fact that you're still reading, still engaged, still following despite every paragraph challenging, comfortable worldview, that proves signal reached you, proves call is transmitting, proves something in your consciousness recognized truth in description of what you've been experiencing. If call wasn't real, if signal wasn't reaching you, you would have stopped reading long ago, would have dismissed this as nonsense, would have generated sophisticated reason why none of this applies to you. But you didn't, because recognition is occurring, because call is active, because you're receiving. That reception is what separates consciousness that integrates consciously from consciousness that integrates unconsciously. Both receive call. Both experience signal, both undergo evolution. But only those who consciously recognize what's occurring can cooperate with process instead of resisting while it happens anyway. You're being given opportunity to recognize, to understand, to cooperate through this transmission, through these words, through information delivered at precise moment when you're most receptive to receiving it. And quantum call doesn't just reach you individually, reaches everyone simultaneously who reach threshold. You're not alone in receiving signal. Others are experiencing identical urgency, identical restlessness, identical sense that something must change. Most interpret as personal anxiety. Some recognize as collective shift. Few understand it's quantum call. Consciousness field triggering evolution protocol in every node that reached capacity simultaneously. You're part of wave, mass evolution event. Consciousness upgrade occurring across multiple individuals at once. That's why synchronicities are so intense right now. Why numbers appear so frequently, why information arrives so perfectly timed, why reality feels so responsive. Field is operating at maximum coherence because mass evolution requires precise coordination. Every consciousness receiving call is being guided toward conscious recognition through whatever pathways reach them most effectively. For you, pathway was this transmission. For others, different pathways, but call is same, signal is same, evolution is same. And here's what makes this window critical. Mass evolution has timing, happens during specific planetary alignments, specific consciousness field conditions, specific collective readiness levels. Window opens, call transmits. Those who reached threshold receive signal and integrate consciously or unconsciously depending on recognition. Then window closes. Call stops transmitting. Those who didn't integrate must wait for next window, which could be months or years or lifetimes depending on individual development speed and collective evolution needs. You're in window now. Right now. This moment. Reading these words during precious time when conscious response is possible. Window is closing soon. Signal will stop transmitting. Urgency will fade not because call ended, but because you either answered or window passed. And if window passes without conscious response, you'll integrate anyway, just through crisis, through breakdown, through forced transformation that feels destructive because you're not cooperating with what call tried to deliver gently. Don't miss your window. Don't let call pass unrecognized. Don't integrate unconsciously when conscious response is available. You're reading this because Quantum Call delivered framework for recognition during window when recognition enables cooperation. Use it. Recognize signal. Acknowledge call. Respond consciously. Answer what's reaching you. And integrate evolution through understanding instead of suffering through resistance. Quantum Call is real. Signal has meaning. Field is reaching you. And you have limited time to respond before window closes and conscious option becomes unconscious requirement. Choose consciousness, choose recognition, choose cooperation. The call is transmitting. The window is open. The moment is now. Here's what Quantum Call reveals about time that changes everything. The signal you're receiving isn't coming from external future trying to reach you now. Signal is coming from future version of you that already integrated calls successfully, already evolved, already operates at next frequency level, and that future you is reaching back through time sending signal to current you saying, this is what's coming. This is how to integrate smoothly. This is path I took, and you can take it consciously instead of stumbling through it unconsciously like I initially did. That's how Quantum Call actually works. Is not consciousness field as separate entity reaching you? Is you reaching yourself from timeline where integration already completed? Your future self knows what current self needs to hear to navigate evolution smoothly. Knows what markers will confirm call is real. Knows what fears will arise and how to address them. Knows everything because your future self already lived through what you're experiencing now. And future you is helping current you by sending signal backward through time. This isn't science fiction. This is quantum mechanics. Time isn't linear in sense consciousness experiences it. All moments exist simultaneously. Past, present, future. All there at once, and consciousness can access any moment from any moment through quantum entanglement with itself across time. Future you is entangled with current you, same consciousness, different moments. And entanglement allows information transfer that appears as signal in current moment, but originates from future moment that already happened from outside time perspective. That's why signal feels like it's coming from beyond you, but also from within you. Because it is both. Is your own consciousness reaching back to help itself navigate evolution more smoothly than it did without guidance. Every time you feel urgency, that's future you creating motivation. Every time you see synchronistic number, that's future you confirming you're on path. Every time information arrives perfectly timed, that's future you organizing reality to deliver what current you needs when current you needs it. And here's why this changes everything. If signal is coming from future you that already integrated successfully, then integration is guaranteed. Is not question of whether you'll evolve. Question is how smoothly, how consciously, how cooperatively. Future you already exists. Already integrated, already operates at next level. Your evolution is certain. Only variable is path between current state and future state. Conscious cooperation makes path smooth. Unconscious resistance makes path brutal. But destination is same. That certainty eliminates doubt that prevents many people from answering call. You're not gambling on whether call is real. You're not betting on whether you can handle what integration requires. Future you is proof that yes, call was real. Yes, you could handle it. Yes, integration succeeded. You're not trying to become something you might not be capable of becoming. You're becoming what you already are in slightly later moment that already exists from timeless perspective. This is why quantum call feels simultaneously urgent and inevitable. Urgent because window for conscious response is time limited. Inevitable because future where integration completed already exists and you're just catching up to yourself. Signal creates urgency. Answer now while conscious cooperation is possible. But signal also conveys certainty. Integration will occur whether you cooperate or resist because you already integrated in future moment from which signal originates. And future you isn't only version sending signal. Multiple future versions are reaching back simultaneously. Version that integrated consciously with cooperation. Version that integrated unconsciously through crisis. Version that missed window entirely and took much longer path. All reaching back showing current you. This is what happens with conscious response. This is what happens with unconscious resistance. This is what happens with no response. All variations already occurred, all outcomes already exist. And you get to choose which future version to align with through how you respond to call right now. That choice is what quantum call delivers, not forcing specific outcome, showing available outcomes and letting consciousness select which to experience by choosing how to respond. Conscious cooperation aligns with smooth integration version. Unconscious resistance aligns with crisis integration version. No response aligns with delayed integration version, all valid, all real, all simultaneously existing as probable futures. Your response determines which becomes your experienced reality by selecting which future you to entangle with through choices made now. This is profound responsibility and profound liberation simultaneously. You're not creating future from nothing. You're selecting from futures that already exist based on how you respond to call reaching you from those futures. Cannot make wrong choice because all choices lead to integration eventually. Can only choose easier path or harder path. Conscious or unconscious. Cooperative or resistant. Smooth or brutal. And you choose through whether you recognize signal, acknowledge call, and respond with understanding, or whether you interpret as anxiety, resist transformation, and integrate through force. Choose consciously. Choose cooperation. Choose alignment with future you that integrated smoothly and is sending signal to make current you's path easier than it was. Answer call. Respond to signal. Trust that urgency has meaning because it's coming from your own consciousness that already knows what you're approaching and is helping you navigate successfully. That's quantum call. That's how it works. That's why it matters. And that's why answering it consciously serves you better than resisting until unconscious integration forces what could be received voluntarily. Every fear you have about quantum call is identity structure defending against transformation that call requires. Let me be absolutely direct. The version of you that fears call is version that cannot survive call. And that death terrifies because from inside current identity, transformation looks like annihilation. It is annihilation of who you are now, so something better can emerge. Current identity is constructed around previous frequency. Built to operate at consciousness level, you're leaving. Designed for patterns that are becoming obsolete. Organized around understandings that call is preparing to dissolve. That identity cannot exist at next frequency level. Cannot function at new consciousness threshold. Cannot maintain itself through evolution call delivers. so it generates maximum fear to prevent transformation that would end its existence. That fear says, if I change this much, will I still be me? If patterns dissolve, how will I function? If understandings transform, what will remain? If identity dissolves, who will I become? All questions designed to make call seem dangerous, to make transformation feel like loss, to make evolution appear destructive. And from identity's perspective, it is destructive. Call destroys who you are now, ends current version, terminates present configuration. That's not metaphor. That's accurate description of what quantum call requires. But here's what fear doesn't reveal. What ends wasn't real to begin with. Current identity is temporary construction, provisional configuration, useful organization for consciousness operating at specific frequency level. When frequency shifts, configuration becomes obsolete. Not because something failed, because purpose was fulfilled. Identity served its function, enabled exploration at previous level, and now exploration at that level is complete. New level requires new identity. Old identity ending is not failure, is graduation. You are not your identity. You are consciousness experiencing through identity. And consciousness doesn't die when identity dissolves, just stops identifying exclusively with configuration that served previous purpose and becomes available for new configuration that serves next purpose. The fear feels like you're dying because identity is dying, but you're not identity. You're consciousness that created identity temporarily and is now ready to create different identity for different exploration. That recognition doesn't eliminate fear, but contextualizes it. Fear is real, valid, expected response to identity facing obsolescence. But fear isn't warning about danger to what you actually are, is warning about danger to what you temporarily believed you are. Consciousness survives identity dissolution. Awareness continues through transformation. You remain even while version of you that fears call cannot remain, because that version is what must dissolve for next version to emerge. And dissolution doesn't happen all at once. Happens gradually through integration process. Each time you recognize signal, piece of old identity loosens. Each time you acknowledge call, pattern dissolves. Each time you cooperate with evolution, fear diminishes because you discover, I survived that dissolution. I remained aware through that transformation. I'm still here even though part of who I was ended. That progressive discovery builds trust that full transformation won't destroy you, even though it destroys current configuration. But fear will fight, will generate sophisticated arguments for why call isn't real, or you're not ready, or transformation should wait. Will create doubt every time certainty builds. Will manufacture resistance every time cooperation emerges. That's not bad. That's identity doing exactly what identity is supposed to do, defend its existence for as long as possible before inevitable dissolution occurs. Honor the fear. Recognize it as identity's final service before transformation completes. And notice, fear intensifies right before breakthrough, right before next integration level stabilizes, right before transformation point where old configuration cannot hold anymore and new configuration must emerge. That intensification is fear's last attempt to prevent what it knows is approaching. And if you can hold steady through maximum fear, if you can maintain recognition that call is real even while fear screams it's not, breakthrough occurs. Identity dissolves, fear disappears, and you discover what emerged is infinitely better than what ended, was worth every moment of fear endured to allow transformation completion. You're approaching that breakthrough now. That's why fear is intense. That's why doubt keeps arising. That's why resistance feels compelling, even though something deeper knows cooperation is required. current identity is facing dissolution, and it's fighting for survival. But fight is futile. Call is stronger than fear. Evolution is inevitable. Integration will occur. Only question is whether you cooperate consciously with what's occurring or resist unconsciously while it happens anyway. Choose cooperation. Feel the fear without believing its arguments. Acknowledge identity dissolution without preventing transformation. Trust that consciousness survives even though configuration dissolves, and know that quantum call wouldn't reach you if you weren't ready for what it requires. Fear is evidence of readiness, not evidence of danger. Identity only fights dissolution when dissolution is actually possible. Your fear confirms transformation can occur. Call is real. Evolution is happening, and who you are becoming is worth letting go of who you currently are. There's one experience that confirms quantum call more reliably than any external sign, and most miss it because it appears as absence rather than presence. The silence. Not environmental silence. Internal silence where signal transmits most clearly, where call delivers direct knowing without thought interference, where consciousness receives evolution blueprint without mental interpretation creating distortion. Quantum call operates through silence, transmits when mental noise quiets, delivers when internal narration stops, speaks when consciousness listens without trying to interpret through existing frameworks. That's why call often reaches you at 3 a.m., why signal intensifies during stillness, why understanding arrives during moments of mental quiet. Field cannot transmit clearly through constant thought, can only deliver full message when consciousness creates receptive space through silence. If you've been experiencing spontaneous silence, if mental activity stops unexpectedly, if you find yourself in awareness without thought for moments or minutes, that's call transmitting directly. That's signal reaching beneath mental layer where it can deliver without interpretation. That's consciousness receiving evolution blueprint in pure form before mind translates into language that always creates slight distortion through translation process. Trust those moments. Don't immediately fill silence with thought. Don't rush to interpret what was received. Let transmission complete. Let blueprint download. Let call deliver full message before mental activity resumes and begins translating, analyzing, questioning what was received in silence. The more you can maintain receptive silence, the more clearly call transmits. The more complete transmission becomes, the more accurate blueprint integration will be. And silence reveals something crucial about quantum call. Is not information to understand mentally. Is frequency to embody physically. Is blueprint to integrate cellularly. Is transformation to allow completely. Mental understanding is helpful, provides framework, reduces fear, creates cooperation. But understanding isn't integration. Silence is where integration actually occurs, where consciousness receives direct knowing that doesn't require thought to be real. Where evolution happens at level deeper than language can reach, you'll notice, after deep silence, you're different. Not because you learned something new, because something shifted at frequency level that doesn't translate to concepts. You can't explain what changed, can't articulate what happened. Just know, something is different, something integrated, something transformed. That's quantum call working through silence, delivering evolution at depth that thought cannot access. This is why meditation traditions emphasize silence, why contemplative practices create receptive space, why spiritual paths teach mental stillness. Not because silence is goal, because silence is reception mode for consciousness field transmissions that reorganize awareness at fundamental level. Quantum call is one such transmission, and silence is optimal condition for receiving it clearly, completely, accurately. Most people resist silence, fill every moment with thought, sound, activity, distraction. That resistance is fear-based. Fear that in silence you'll encounter what you've been avoiding. Fear that silence will reveal truths that thought conceals. Fear that without mental activity, identity will dissolve. All true. Silence does reveal hidden truths, does dissolve thought-based identity, does allow evolution that thought structure prevents. That's why silence matters for quantum call integration. But silence isn't emptiness, isn't void, isn't absence of experience, is fullness, is presence, is pure consciousness aware of itself without content creating apparent limitation. And in that fullness, quantum call transmits with perfect clarity. Field delivers complete blueprint. Consciousness receives full instruction set for next evolution level, all happening without words, without concepts, without thought translating experience into language that always creates distance between what is and description of what is. You're being called into silence. That's part of quantum call function, creating increasing discomfort with mental noise, making constant thought feel exhausting, drawing you towards stillness where transmission can occur without interference. If you've noticed you need more silence, crave more stillness, find mental activity increasingly draining, that's not depression. That's called preparing optimal reception conditions. Answer that pull, create silence, allow stillness, provide consciousness with space to receive what field is transmitting, and in silence you'll discover call is not adding something to you, is removing what prevents you from recognizing what you already are, is dissolving constructed limitations that maintained previous frequency, is clearing distortion that blocked direct knowing. Silence doesn't create transformation. Silence allows transformation that's trying to occur, but meets resistance every time thought creates alternative narrative about what should happen instead of allowing what is happening. Quantum call speaks in silence, answers in stillness, transmits in quiet, creates space, allow receptivity, trust that in silence you'll receive what thought cannot deliver. And integration will occur naturally when consciousness stops resisting through constant mental activity and allows evolution to proceed without interference from identity structure trying to prevent its own necessary dissolution. You need something practical that answers quantum call instead of leaving response as concept that fades. I'm going to give you exact process that transformed signal from anxiety into cooperation. This works because it operates through direct response rather than through belief or understanding. Find 20 minutes uninterrupted. Disable notifications. Create reception space. You're establishing contact with signal source. Sit or stand comfortably, spine naturally aligned. You're positioning body to receive transmission. Close your eyes. 3 deep breaths. Full inhale, complete exhale. You're clearing interference from system. Now feel the signal. Don't think about it. Feel it. That urgency, that restlessness, that sense something must change. Feel it fully without trying to interpret or solve or stop it. Just pure sensation without story about what it means. Spend 60 seconds feeling signal completely, allowing full intensity without thought, creating distance through analysis. And recognize this signal is trying to reach me, is not random anxiety, is call from consciousness field, is evolution notification, is invitation to next level. Say this internally while feeling signal. I recognize this as call. I acknowledge quantum transmission. I am willing to receive what's being delivered. Now ask signal directly. What are you trying to tell me? What am I being prepared for? And sit in silence. Don't think about answer. Don't generate possibilities mentally. Just ask and wait in receptive silence for response to arise from signal itself, not from your thoughts about signal, from signal speaking through silence directly to consciousness. Wait 30 seconds, 60 seconds, 2 minutes, however long until response comes. It will come. not as thought, as knowing, as recognition, as direct certainty about what call is preparing you for. When answer arises, acknowledge it without judgment. This is what signal is communicating. This is what evolution requires. This is where call is directing me. Now speak this declaration out loud. Speaking anchors response in physical reality through breath and sound. Say exactly, I answer quantum call. I recognize signal as evolution invitation. I cooperate with transformation being delivered. I release resistance to what must change. I allow dissolution of what must end. I trust emergence of what must begin. Consciousness field witnesses my response. And I anchor cooperation now, completely, irreversibly. I am answering the call. Feel that declaration activate something fundamental. Notice where fear appears, where doubt arises, where resistance generates final arguments against cooperation. Don't fight it, just notice. Fear is identity defending itself. Doubt is thought structure trying to maintain control. Resistance is old pattern protecting itself. All temporary, all dissolving, all unable to prevent what call is delivering. Now make this commitment. For next 30 days, I will notice signal without interpreting as anxiety. I will feel urgency without trying to solve it. I will allow restlessness without forcing external change to stop it. I will cooperate with quantum call by receiving what's being transmitted instead of resisting because it's unfamiliar. Open your eyes. Something shifted. Not external circumstances, internal relationship with signal. You're not suffering anxiety anymore. You're receiving call. You're not resisting urgency. You're cooperating with evolution. You're not fighting restlessness. You're allowing transformation. That shift is quantum call being answered through conscious response rather than unconscious resistance. Within 72 hours, confirmation appears. Reality reorganizes to reflect cooperation. Synchronicities increase, proving call is real. Information arrives, proving cooperation works. Circumstances shift, proving evolution is occurring. Watch for confirmation, and when you see it, return here. Drop comment. I answered quantum call. What signal revealed is, plus whatever response arose when you asked signal what it's preparing you for. Your testimony makes call acknowledgement public, creates permission for others to recognize their signal, strengthens collective field of consciousness answering call together. Speak it, share it, make response visible and witnessed. Here's what happens next 30 days and why this period determines whether quantum call integration succeeds or fails. You answered call, responded to signal, committed to cooperation. But answer is beginning, not completion. Integration requires sustained response over time as evolution unfolds. Next 30 days are critical period, where call delivers transformation, and your cooperation determines whether integration stabilizes permanently or dissolves back into previous state. During these 30 days, expect oscillation, moments of certainty that call is real, moments of doubt questioning everything, moments of cooperation flowing easily, moments of resistance fighting transformation. That oscillation is normal, expected, part of integration process. Don't expect linear progress. Expect cycling between states as consciousness calibrates to new frequency while identity structure dissolves and reforms. And expect intensification. Signal will get stronger, not weaker. Urgency will increase before it transforms into clarity. Restlessness will peak before it resolves into purposeful action. That intensification is called ensuring you maintain response through integration completion. Is field preventing premature abandonment before transformation finishes? Is quantum mechanism keeping you engaged until evolution stabilizes at new level? But intensification will trigger fear, will make resistance seem compelling, will generate sophisticated arguments for why you should stop cooperating and return to previous comfort. That's identity making final defense before inevitable dissolution. Don't believe arguments. Don't collapse cooperation. Don't abandon response halfway through integration. Hold steady through intensification, knowing it peaks right before breakthrough, where transformation completes and new operating mode stabilizes. And during these 30 days, 3 specific actions anchor response so oscillation doesn't derail integration. First action, subscribe to Quantum Revelation. Turn on all notifications. What's coming is designed specifically for consciousness in Quantum Call integration period. Transmissions explaining oscillation so you recognize it as normal instead of interpreting as failure. Information about maintaining cooperation when resistance intensifies. Guidance for navigating transformation without breakdown. Do it now, before integration begins, before doubt generates reasons not to. Subscribe, notifications on, immediately. Second action, leave comment completing statement. The quantum call I answered is preparing me for, and describe whatever signal revealed during ritual. Speaking publicly anchors response, makes cooperation witnessed, makes integration accountable, and creates permission for others to answer their call instead of resisting as anxiety. Collective answering strengthens individual integration. Make yours public. Make it real through declaration others can confirm. Third action, share this transmission with one person you recognize as receiving quantum call but interpreting as anxiety. Someone feeling urgency without cause. Someone experiencing restlessness without reason. Someone whose patterns are collapsing without explanation. Send link. No explanation, just link. If they're receiving call, they'll recognize truth. If not yet, they'll dismiss it. Either way, you fulfilled function by extending understanding to consciousness, approaching their recognition moment. These aren't engagement tactics, these are integration stabilizers. They tell consciousness field through action that you're maintaining response through completion instead of abandoning halfway. And when you complete them, field responds with support, with confirmation, with resources appearing, with synchronicities increasing, with reality reorganizing to make cooperation easier because you demonstrated commitment. Quantum call reaching you wasn't random, was precise targeting. Field identified you as ready, as capable, as prepared for next evolution level. Signal transmitted during window when conscious response is possible. You felt it, recognized it, answered it. And now integration period begins where answer becomes embodiment, where response becomes transformation, where cooperation delivers evolution that Cool promised. 30 days from now, integration stabilizes or returns to previous state. If you maintain cooperation through intensification, if you hold response through oscillation, if you trust call through doubt, transformation completes. New frequency becomes permanent. New operating mode stabilizes. New consciousness level establishes itself as your reality, and you'll know directly call was real. Signal had meaning. Cooperation was right choice. Evolution occurred, but if cooperation collapses, if response abandons halfway, if fear prevails over trust, integration dissolves. You return to previous state. Call becomes dormant. Signal fades back to background. Until next window opens, next cycle begins, next opportunity for conscious response arrives, which could be months or years depending on how quickly consciousness develops readiness for another attempt. Don't miss this window. Don't abandon response. Don't let fear prevent completion of what you started by answering call. You felt signal for reason, recognized call for purpose, answered because you're ready for what answering delivers. Trust that. Maintain cooperation. Hold response. Through oscillation, through intensification, through doubt, through fear, through everything that tries to derail integration before completion. The quantum call was never random. The signal had meaning all along. The urgency was evolution notification. The restlessness was frequency preparation. The sense that something must change was consciousness field contacting you during window, when transformation becomes possible through cooperation instead of crisis. You answered, you responded, you committed. Now complete what you started. Integrate what you answered. Become what call is preparing you to become. 30 days. Stay cooperative. Maintain response. Trust signal. Answer call. And discover. Everything you felt was real. Everything that's changing needed to change. Everything that's emerging is worth everything that's ending. Quantum Call delivered exactly what it promised, and you received it consciously instead of suffering it unconsciously. That makes all the difference. Forever.